It's your lousy Florida gardener. Today I'm going to show you how to plant elephant ears. The particular variety we're going to plant today has a smaller leaf, but they cluster and they multiply. I'm going to plant several beds together because I want a canopy of them. So I'm going to show you how I would plant those. Elephant ears are very forgiving. It's one of the few plants you don't have to put a lot of thought into where it's going because it don't have to be a permanent plant. I've snatched these up all times of the years and stuck them in different places, and they've done well. The variety we're going to plant today, I don't know the name of. The leaf doesn't get about that big, but they grow tight clusters. I got these last year from one of my local good old boys and planted a few here and there, and they really multiplied and done well. So we're going to transplant these into a bed. I'm going to use topsoil today. I usually use cow manure, but this was a last minute thought that I had to move these. Elephant ears are really fine. They tend to do well even in the poorest hands. That's why they make great items. They make great plants for beginners. The foliage really spreads. They do multiply and spread quickly, so you got to think about that so that you can contain them. Really do well as long as you put in the water to them. You don't really have to fertilize them a lot. They do well on their own. I fertilize them once a month once the growing season starts here in Florida. Generally don't dig them up. I leave them in the ground and mulch them when the winter comes. You don't have to fertilize them. I enjoy fertilizing them. They will grow without fertilizer. I've seen people that look just as good as mine that haven't put fertilizer, but when it comes to fertilize, I'm kind of like an alcoholic at the bar with his money. I'm just shelling it out, keep them rounds coming, you know, or kind of like when in doubt, let's cast some out. So, you know, I'm gonna fertilize everything when it needs it, and if it don't need it, I'm gonna give it to it, which ain't a good thing. Anyhow, let's come on over here and I'm gonna show you the particular spot that I picked out. It's out by my road. I didn't plant anything in this bed originally in this spot because I didn't want anything permanent, because later I anticipate having to cut a gate in. So since I had to move these, I got to thinking this would be an ideal spot. We're gonna plant these close. They're gonna be about a foot apart. We're gonna do several rows right here. That ought to give us a good foliage. I suggest if you've watched any of my videos, this particular variety, I'd planted it along my driveway by a walk-through small little deal that I'd built. I can't think what you would call that. But if you watch my videos, you'll know what I'm talking. That's what these are. So if you've seen that, you can imagine what this whole bed will look like with it. So let's get over and I'll show you how to do it. So the first thing we're gonna do is pull back all of our pine straw out of this bed. So we got all our pine straw moved back. We're ready to start using the shovel. At this point, any kind of weeds you would have, this would be the time to go ahead and start de-weeding your bed. I'll weed as I go, and I'll show you what I'm talking about, and later on I'm gonna have a video on how I weed existing beds. So I'll try to remember to link that in. So what we're gonna do here is along this fence with these smaller elephant ears, I'm gonna come out about a foot and dig a ditch all the way down it, a little bit about as wide as the shovel and about as deep as the shovel. Remember, these are a smaller variety elephant ear. And we're gonna start right here in this corner, about a foot away from that fence. And this principle would be the same, even for single elephant ear. You just dig you a hole about 2 or 3 foot wide and put your dirt in the wheelbarrow, because we're gonna mix in our soil amendment and organic material, like cow, topsoil, something like that, and use it to refill these holes. So just dig your hole or your trench, depending on what you're doing. Put it in your wheelbarrow. If you come across roots while you're doing this, you could cut them, I guess. I found on elephant ears it don't bother them. I just dig around the roots. I have a lot of big pine trees on the place I live on. So if it makes you feel better, cut them with these elephant ears. If you don't, worry about that. Just dig around and dig the best you can. You're gonna find you're not ever gonna pay attention to that. Them elephant ears are gonna do fine. So now we have our hole dug. Don't be too critical on yourself. It's about the width of your shovel and about the depth. If you want to go deeper, that's fine. This applies to just bulbs, not transplanting elephant ear plants. Now, one reason why I don't take this trench any wider, I want the ground around it to be as hard as possible to restrict them elephant ears from trying to grow as fast and multiply. Let's get over here where our wheelbarrow is. I'll show you what we're gonna do now with this dirt. At this point, I like to take a stiff tooth garden rake and I'll start working my dirt and chopping it back and forth. And as I go, any roots or grass that I see, I'll pull out. You're breaking this dirt up, and after we get all the stuff out of it, we're gonna add normally black cow, today topsoil, any type of organic material. Just chop it, pull it all to one end, stop, get out any roots or grass that you see, and then work it back the other way the same way. And your goal is to break up your dirt good and get any roots, any grass. Now, if you had a tiller, you could come in here and just spread your organic, and you could till over the top of it, stick your bulbs in the ground. A lot of you don't have tillers, and that's why I'm doing it by hand. I want to show you that it can be done very simply. You'll follow along throughout the years I do my garden tours. You'll see what we're planting here today as it grows. And don't get me wrong, if you're growing for a beautiful landscape, a tiller's the way to go. If you're growing for the love of gardening and enjoying it, out here today, you got a storm rolling in trying to beat it. It's nice. That's the purpose in gardening to me. Something fun, relaxing, occupies the mind, and then you see the reward of the plant grow at the end. So just keep working that till you get all that out. So now that we have our dirt broke up and most of our roots out, we're going to add our organic material. And then we're going to do it the same way. We're going to chop it back and forth and mix it into that dirt. Now, for a wheelbarrow this size, I like to use about a bag. Good ratio, I believe, that I've had, and that's not what this is, but 1/3 compost to your dirt here in Florida in the sand, at least 1/3. So just work it the same way. Just pull your dirt, reaching down deep, so that you're pulling up some of that old dirt and mix all that together. Now once I get my dirt mixed up like I want it, I like to go ahead and fill my hole back in. Just put your dirt back in your hole. We're gonna fill this trench up all the way down. Not packing it, just laying your dirt in it. We've got our ditch done. We've refilled it with dirt. What you're gonna do next is gonna depend on the bulbs that you have. If you just bought bulbs or somebody give them to you out of winter storage, they probably won't have all these roots on them. They'll just be a bare bulb. You can just walk along that ditch you dug at the spacing that you want, put them in the dirt, pack the dirt around it with your hand. These that we're transplanting today, they have roots. You could just cut them off and it'd probably do fine. The less shock you put it through, so the better you are. So on these, I like to pull back the dirt enough that I can set all my roots in it and pull it back. So let's go over here and I'll show you how to plant a couple of these. We're gonna come about right here and plant our first one. And just pull the dirt back. Take that bulb, and we're gonna put it in on this one since it's an established plant to about right here. Now this part will probably die off, but it's gonna come back. So dig you a hole big enough to lay your roots down into. Put them all down and then pull your dirt back around it. And kind of pack it down. I like to put a little ditch around it. It'll be covered with mulch. That'll help funnel a little water. And we'll come down here and do this next one. I'm gonna put these about a foot apart. Maybe a little more than a foot. So elephant ears are very forgiving. You can see that new green coming up on that one right there. So I'm gonna work my way down this bed and get these planted out. I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. So we got our first row planted here. Now I'm gonna come out about 2 foot and I'm gonna do the same thing again. And I'm gonna plant another row. So we got 3 rows. 1, 2, 3. Now we're gonna level this ground and replace our mulch. I use pine straw for mulch only because it's free and it does the job. If you're using pine straw or cypress mulch or pine mulch, I don't recommend pine mulch. That attracts termites. Put you to begin with about a 3 to 4 inch layer, except for around your elephant ears itself, about a foot diameter around it. I'd spread it about half that thick and then not let it rest right on the stalk. I'm gonna take my rake, sit and just level my ground, get all my debris out of it, make sure everything's nice and level. So we've got it leveled out, we've got our mulch in. Normally at this point you would stop now and water this in thoroughly. That would help settle your mulch or your pine straw, give them a good thorough wet. Elephant ears love water, but especially for the next few days, maybe the next week or two, you need to get water to them every day. The more water you get, the better they grow. I'll generally come back about once a month and I'll put some 10-10-10. I'll do a video on that. You follow along over the next here and there, you'll see my video tours, and I'm sure we'll see the spot we planted. We'll see what it looks like with these 3 rows that we planted. We got this big old storm rolling in. It's fixing to put down the water, so we're going to get settled in now. I appreciate y'all joining me, and I'll see you back on the next video.